Good evening and welcome back to All for United WSC with myself and Matt. This is the Ben and Matt Saturday Night Live. Matt, how are we, fella?
Yeah, I'm not too bad, pal. How are you doing?
Not bad, mate. Not bad. How's your week been so far, lad?
Busy.
Busy, yeah, same
It's
here,
always
mate.
busy. The thing is, when you get towards the end of terms in school, pal, it's just chaos because there's like the changeover for when they move up a year and you get a new lot, and it's just like my head just falls off. But listen, I can't complain. 2.5 weeks left, and then a 6-week summer holiday break. So I'll take that, pal. But yeah, apart from that, like I say, not a bad week so far.
Good. Well, we'll get stuck into the juicy topic of the day, and that is about the Women's Champions, the UEFA Champions League coverage. DAZN, or DAZN, as I believe it's called. Someone will correct me if I'm wrong. They have picked up the UEFA Women's Champions League rights to host I was going to say the show, but the matches, all the matches. And I believe the first couple of years, every single game will be live on YouTube. And then for the second year, I think they're going 19 games live from YouTube, all in all. And it's just about $1.99, £2 a month, which is quite decent. Bit like from what I read, it's a bit like a Netflix type of a subscription. You get all sorts of sports under that. At the minute, they're big on the boxing. And you only have to look who they just signed up for the boxing rights. You've got Maya Jama, you've got Tony Bellew, the ex-boxer from Liverpool, and you obviously got Laura Woods from Sky Sports as well. So they seem pretty serious. Matt, what's your initial reaction on that, mate?
Good. I think if you sort of think back, and I don't think you were on the show, but I think when I did my WFC show, probably back in about February, March time, we did a show sort of on broadcasting and visibility and accessibility. And at the time, I pretty much hammered it and slated it. And the reason why was this year, obviously, it's been a pandemic and fans haven't been in. And some games, to be fair to BT, have been shown for free, but, not many. And I was critical because I said, listen, I'd rather have like a pay-per-view so I can still watch the game, or, something where it was accessible to all, because people that paid for season tickets, at least, listen, I still haven't been compensated. I'm still waiting for United to get the finger out in terms of that. That's not the issue, though. The issue to me is watching the game. So I was quite critical, and we did a show on it. We basically said, it's about time. I said that games are shown on YouTube, and whether that's pay-per-view, whether that's subscription, it's got to be affordable and it's got to be accessible. I think what's great about this is, I spoke to Robert, and he's got a subscription because he watches the boxing on there, and it's $1.99 he pays a month. Now, in terms of affordability, that's fantastic. It's accessible. Like you mentioned, some games are free and some will be under the subscription. But that's the way to do it. Get people sort of interested in knowing a bit more about the company with the freebies, and then get them on the subscription. And listen, for $1.99 a month, like I say, you can't argue that. So, people were telling me back in sort of February, March, oh no, it'll never work. You can't use YouTube. It won't work. It's not possible. It won't get the audience. It's a waste of time. Well, we're sitting here 3-4 months later, I'm sat here laughing, thinking, well, actually, you're all having a go and slating me and saying, oh, blah, 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 but at the end of the day now, it's happening, it's working. And I always link back to what I said back then, YouTube is common for games. You look at like the French and the German leagues, and I think the Japanese league, they have a lot of cup games. There's a heck of a lot of cup games on YouTube. You can watch quite a lot. I think the Russian league, most of the league games are actually on YouTube as well for free. So listen, times are changing, and, a lot of things are becoming sort of digital and technical. And, obviously we've seen next year with the women's season tickets that they're going to be becoming digital. So, it's happening. I'm pleased it's happening. It's accessible. It's affordable. It's a good start. It's never sort of happened before. Yes, some games are on BT for Champions League, not all. But listen, you've got to start somewhere. Change is usually good on the whole. Some people are against change, but I think in this instance, me personally, I can't knock it. And I think it'll boost the Champions League. It'll boost the sort of the views for people that want to watch football abroad. You know, I only tend to stick to sort of England and then the German league, just out of personal preference. But for example, if I wanted to have a look at, say, I don't know, let's say for example the Russian league, for a random country to throw out there, I can watch the Champions League. If I wanted to look at, say, the Danish, the Swedish, something like that, I can watch it. It's accessible. So it's good just for, if you're a football fan and you want to get to know players in other leagues, it's fantastic. And I think, like I say, it's the first big sort of Champions League deal. And I know obviously shortly we'll probably get into the announcement that came out the other day as well. The same day as this did, about increased prize money. But for me, I'm very happy. I mean, I don't really know, what else there is to say on that. But what's your thoughts on that? Obviously, it's difficult from a United point of view because we're not in the Champions League. But if we were, what's sort of your thoughts on this? Are you sort of echoing me, or do you think maybe there's different ways they could have done it, or something you might even want to tweak?
No, I think it's a perfect way of doing it, mate. I've always championed it. I've said before on previous shows, I can't believe why the Premier League have not gone to a Netflix-based subscription thing, because they would absolutely milk it in the men's game. However, this is I think this is good news to the women's game. You mentioned the prize money there. Just let me get it up again. My phone's just gone dodgy. Here we are. Richard Laverty reported, a friend of the show, Richard Laverty, he reported saying the UEFA Women's Champions League was already a more lucrative this season than before the new DAZN deal. Every one of the 16 teams in the group stage will receive €400,000 minimum. Winners could receive up to 1.4 million, which is over $1 million more euros than last season's champions. So they've pumped a little bit of money into there, mate, which is good. It's good to see that they've also increased the prize money and increased the participation money for every single team in the group stages and that, or for the 16 teams in the group stage. Hopefully this then will allow the Champions League to maybe grow a little bit more, maybe have a couple more participants. Do you know what I mean? To mirror what the men's is. The men's is a massive, it's a massive competition with more than 16 teams in the group stages, or maybe we'll have a secondary European competition at some point, and maybe if the DAZN might say, listen, demand's out there for it. It's gone very, very well over the first 2 or 3 years on our subscription service. Maybe we could look at maybe doing it like a Europa League type of competition. A secondary European competition. Or, as I said, look to expand the Champions League to what the men's is. So your top 4 then qualify instead of at the minute, which is the top 3 in the WSL. So, listen, mate, I'm all for it, mate. As you said, $1.99 a month, £2 a month. What's that? That's nothing. What we're paying for Netflix, £11-12 a month. It's nothing, that is it really? And you get your boxing on the British side of the deal, the package deal. And I know in Austria and Germany, the DAZN, where they were first launched in Austria and Germany, they have a vast load of women's football showed on there. They show the Women's World Cup. They show the UEFA Nations League men's. They show they've got the rights to the German women's team games as well. I suppose being Germany, they would have had that anyway. They have all the men's Champions League games on there. Their Premier League games on there for abroad. They do show WSL games in Austria, but not Germany. But they show it in Austria already. They've got a package there to show our WSL games. So yeah, it seems like they already have a big format already across Europe, and in this country, I know it's used a lot more for boxing, but as I said at the top of the show, it looks like they're putting money into their boxing side with bringing in people like Maya Jam and Laura Woods on their hosting side, and bringing Tony Bellew in as well as a pundit type thing, if you know what I mean. So it's listen, there seems to be the way to go. And I think it was I was listening to a podcast on BBC Sounds with Eddie Hearn. And Eddie Hearn, obviously the boxing promoter, was saying that DAZN were the people to watch, because he said that these guys have got a lot of money, and he said he wouldn't be surprised if more sport was to was to go onto that platform, and he goes, they will be major rivals to Sky and to BT. So he says maybe not for the first, maybe not in the next couple of years, but certainly within 5 years, they might monopolise quite a lot of the big sport. And he goes, it wouldn't surprise me if the Premier League rights maybe shifted from BT to DAZN, for example. Sky will always have that monopoly over the big sort of chunk of Premier League games because it really, to be fair, the Premier League is their baby in a way. But he said it wouldn't surprise him if you see more and more and more sport going to DAZN. So it's good for women's football because let's not forget the Premier League. Sky Sports themselves have also put in a bit of money and a lot of money to take over the WSL rights to show WSL games from next season, and there's more money in that as well. And I think it's good for the women's game that finally you're getting big platforms now pumping more money into it and making it more accessible for people. Because you think of the one big TV channel that everyone seems to, or TV company that everybody or most people across the UK have subscriptions for is Sky. Or through Now TV, you can get your Sky Sports and that as well. So you don't have to pay for Sky Sport, Sky, all of Sky. You can just pay for Sky Sports on a monthly subscription on Now TV, which is a little bit cheaper than having a whole massive Sky package. So it's good to see, mate. But I think DAZN have hit it on the head by putting the first couple of years majority of all the games on YouTube, and then still for the third season insisting that 19 games will be made available free to view on YouTube. But at $1.99 a month, mate, that subscription service is cheap as chips, mate. Have you got anything else to add on to that, mate? With the prize money, with greater prize money included.
Yeah, I think that is good in the respect that obviously there's already been a shake-up that comes into play this season. Obviously, they've added the sort of the bonus of the prize money, which is great as well, because there's been a lot on sort of prize money in the last few years, especially on the Women's FA Cup, where the winners of the Women's FA Cup don't even get something like 1% of the men's winnings. So I think that's a big thing in itself. I think the other great thing as well is that, you're talking about accessibility, and most people now have the internet, so they have the ability to watch the games. Not everybody has Sky. And you think about, a subscription service like that. I think back to Setanta Sports, if you remember that, when it was $10 a month. I think of Sky now, and I think you have to go and get your Sky box, and there's a lot of costs involved. BT's a little bit easier, but again, it's quite costly. I think what's great about this is, like you say, you do get other sports as well. Like you touched on boxing, you get that, and I think it's a great start because the Champions League's getting a shake-up. They're ploughing in money in terms of prize money. You talked about Sky coming in as well, and it's slowly but surely all going to benefit. And it's great that it's coming one season as well. It's all kicking in play for 21-22. So, more visibility around the Champions League. Champions League, obviously the WSL, there's been extra place, and there's been a Champions League shake-up as well in general as a whole. Would I like to see Europa League like you mentioned? Listen, I think it's possible, as long as it doesn't become a bit of like an afterthought, a bit like the men's. I'm sure, that there can be ways that they can sort of make it, interesting and not one of them ones where it's seen as a chore and it's a bit of a blag. But I think, listen, the wheels are in motion. We may see a second, like I say, European in terms of Women's Europa League competition. That sort of depends on clubs really, though, because finances and sustainability and things like that are obviously going to come into play. But, just to sort of wrap up and sort of, end on that, I think, fantastic, good start. And like you said, 19 free games. Let's see where that takes us, I'm definitely sure I'll be tuning in to catch some Champions League games, Might be some foreign ones, most likely, like I say. But listen, if it's there, why not make use of it? So I think it's fantastic news overall. Like I say, expanding it and increasing prize money as well is really good.
Absolutely, and I know it's got nothing to do with the women's channel, and I know this is a pre-record, but breaking news is that Jadon Sancho and Man United have agreed, Borussia Dortmund have agreed a deal. So happy days. Mm-hmm. Anyway. On to the next bit. I want to link everything in with his transfers as well. But Birmingham City, I'm going to start with Birmingham City, if I may.
Yeah.
They've announced a new manager today. And I think, people are going to say, oh, well, if Arsenal have announced a new manager, Birmingham have announced a new manager, where's our new manager? And the meltdown galore on that as well will always be, I think, listen, I think Arsenal and Birmingham in particular have been looking for new coaches a lot longer than we have. I think that they've been in a position where they've known, I think, a lot longer than we have, that their managers wanted to depart at the end of the season. So his name is Scott Booth. He's got quite a bit of a record. He's got quite a bit of a CV already. He's had played for Aberdeen, he's played for Scotland, and he's played for Dortmund. In his playing career, he's had over 200 appearances, 70 goals for Aberdeen, 22 caps, 6 goals for Scotland. He played for the reigning Champions League winners, Borussia Dortmund, at the time as well. And he comes with an 84% win ratio at Glasgow City as a manager. 84%. And in that as well, I believe this is his managerial career as well. So in that is in the Dutch, he's a Dutch Cup winner with FC 20. He's coached Scotland youth teams. He's a 6 Scottish Women's Premier League titles he's won. 2 Scottish Women's Cups, and led Glasgow City to the joint best UEFA Women's Champions League finish in 2019-20 season of the quarterfinals. That's a pretty impressive coach for Birmingham City standards, considering the team's in a bit of a disarray and the club's been in a shambles for the last few years. What do you make of that appointment for Birmingham City?
I think it's interesting. I think the first thing before anything that struck me was the fact that it's a 3-year deal. I think, you look at it and you think, okay, he's come in, fair play. And I'd obviously heard of him from being, like you mentioned, at Glasgow City. But yeah, 3-year deal. I think, like you say, because that club has been in so much of a mess this year, it's not surprising that they've offered him that. It's more surprising he's accepted something that long. Like I say, he must have possible cast iron guarantees. I mean, listen, people can talk the talk and be going about it with our own club, but actions speak louder. But it to me, it does seem that something must have been mentioned. Whether it happens again is another thing. But I think, 3-year deal comes with a decent coaching record. You mentioned he sort of played in the men's game and, coached in it and played for Scotland. And I know he does some TV work and, he's done a good job with Glasgow City. I think, did you say 84% winning record, which it's good, but I wouldn't get too hyped in terms of, that, because it's the Scottish League, because prior to Rangers going full time, Celtic women aren't sort of like the men's team. They don't tend to dominate everything. It's Glasgow City that have dominated that league. So it's similar to the men's in that the fact that Celtic dominate the men's, or 9 times out of 10 do, barring season just finished. And Glasgow, Champions League every year, win most things in Scotland. So whilst that is an impressive, win ratio, it's probably the best in the UK, I would assume, and that's a guess. I think, can he replicate that in the WSL? Different league, challenging set of circumstances. It'll be less money as well in terms of transfer budget, unless the owners, like I say, drastically change the ways. So for me, it's interesting, obviously, like I say, it was well documented, their issues, and no fan wants to see another club go out of business, I don't think, okay, it's a rival team, but I think if they were to go out of business, having been the name that I knew they were in women's football when they were, cup finals, and like Karen Carney were there and a whole host of other really good players, and they were up there, Champions League, etc. I think it would be a shame for them to massively struggle. So I'm hoping this year they can, really turn around their fortunes off the pitch more than anything. I think, Carla Ward did a superb job there now. And, what a great opportunity for Scott to come in, rebuild that club. I think there's only 2 contracted players for next season. Obviously, some may leave, some may extend that are out of contract. But what a great sort of, position to be in, that actually I can build this team up from scratch. I've got a long-term deal, or long-term in women's sort of talk, women's football, build that club up, get the fans back on board. Obviously, when fans are back in ground, hopefully give them something to look forward to and shout about. Because, listen, everybody's had it tough these past sort of 14, 15 months. But if we're talking in terms of football and football tough, I think Birmingham's probably had it the worst. The season just finished out of everybody in terms of, like I say, just because of the shambolic ownership, really. And like I said, credit to Carla for keeping them up. So, yeah, for me, I think, if I was a Birmingham fan, I'd be content with that. I don't think, and I don't mean this in a bad way, I don't think there's too many other options they could have got, really, that would be any better than him. So, like I say, if he can transfer that sort of the fundamentals and that winning mentality, into Birmingham, then who knows what they could do. I don't think he'll replicate the 84% win percentage somehow. But listen, if they go in there and, like I say, they rebuild and they stay up again, I think if I was a Birmingham fan, I'd call that success, bearing in mind, and I know we're going to get onto sort of latest deals later, but bearing in mind that rivals and people down near where they finished have been strengthening, and they've currently got 2 contracted players. I think as a Birmingham fan, I'd be happy with just staying up again.
Absolutely, mate. Question I'm going to ask, it's a stupid question because I know the answer to this, but people will be asking out there, for someone with a good percentage record of 84% wins, albeit we know for Glasgow City in the Scottish League, was that someone that Manchester United should have been looking at? So a coach there with a decent record and won a couple of cups and pots in Holland. Is it? Is that someone that United should have been looking at, or do we have to look a little bit better than that, higher ceiling?
I think for me personally, a higher ceiling. I mean, I've been vocal on sort of the manager, and right when it was announced Casey was off, the first name I tweeted, and I've mentioned this before, was Jill Ellis. Now, I think the thing is, whilst we talk about a great record, again, they don't mean disrespect, but a great record in Scotland is probably equivalent to a great record in the 3rd tier. And yes, he's won cups, and listen, a trophy's a trophy. And he can't help the league and he can't help the opposition. And, a win percentage is a win percentage. Fine, not knocking that. But I think for me, I mentioned the likes of Jill Ellis, the likes of Gerard Prichard, the ex-Lyon manager. They've been in constant, they've been like Champions League finals every year or World Cup finals in Jill Ellis's case. They've worked with big international players, I mean, again, not mean sounding rude, but Glasgow City's not full of international stars and World Cup winners, and Lyon, they had European Cup winners as well. We're talking some of the best players in the world, and that for me is the level that I want at my club. Now, we're not going to get Jill because she's got this sort of director's role in America, and she'll be starting that soon. Fine. Gerard would be my choice. On Tuesday, I'd heard Colin Bell, and no, not the Man City one for people that are still asking me that.
I was about to say.
No, Colin Bell, he manages the South Korea national team. He was Huddersfield Town assistant manager. He's got a wealth of experience. That wouldn't be disappointing, but again, it was a name that I'd heard had been interviewed. He's got quite a bit of experience. He's sort of pushing on now. He's nearly 60, so whether he'd come in and it'd be a case of, right, this is my chance. Because he's going to stay at that age. He's not going to be using us as a stepping stone to boost his profile and things like that. So I think for me, without disrespect to Scott and his achievements, like I say, fair play. You can't knock it in that sort of league, and it's not his fault. But for me, no, it needs to be like that world class, and maybe that won't happen, But my personal sort of standards and feelings for the club is, let's get there. And obviously, I think with a manager, you've got more scope of getting a quality manager than you have tons of quality players. We're lucky to get sort of Toby and Heath coming in. And, we're sort of at that level where we're not going to get loads of world class every summer. It's going to be a build up to it. Champions League football will help, but I think a manager, for me, there's no reason why, but I would, Scott's gone to Birmingham for a reason. Like I say, I'm pretty sure if we were in for him, he'd be here, which obviously says that we weren't in for him, which means the board or whoever's, sort of employing the manager doesn't view him as somebody that's potentially good enough, which is fine. I suppose it's great from our point of view. But like I said on previous podcasts, we haven't advertised our head coach or manager, whatever you want to call them, vacancy. They have been, the interviewees have been picked by the club. So the club has handpicked a certain number of people to interview to get the best candidate. So, he's obviously not been one of them because he ended up there. So, like I said, a higher caliber of person. And, there might be a different name thrown out, in the next few days. There might be a completely different name that gets unveiled as the new manager, So, yeah, I think for me now, we do need to sort of obviously get ours wrapped up. But to sort of summarise and answer your question, do I think he would have been good enough for us? The answer is no.
Absolutely, mate. I echo the same sentiments, mate. I just thought I'd throw that question out there because I'm asking that, with an 84% win record and the pots that he's won with Glasgow and with FC 20, whether you'd actually be looking at somebody like that. But I definitely 100% agree with you. Moving on though to United United transfer related one. This one might take a bit of talking about. You sent me on WhatsApp, which I didn't realise, but this is from Goal. So how reputable it is, I don't know. But Manchester United women have been in talks with the West Londoners for almost 2 months over Lauren James. This is Chelsea. But negotiations between the clubs have hit a stumbling block in recent weeks. Chelsea have made a final offer for Lauren James after growing frustrated in the talks to sign the forward. What do you make of that, pal? That's United are probably playing hardball because what I reckon it to me is United want decent amount of money for her, a decent chunk of money for her. What has been said in the past is that Manchester United have been guilty of selling players in the men's game for cheaper than they should. So I'm hoping that for this, Manchester United are holding out for a top seed at a top price. Just like, for example, Borussia Dortmund have held out and held out and held out for a top price that they want for Jadon Sancho. What do you make of it, mate? Because if it's true, this is big news.
Yes, if it's true, it is big news. It becomes difficult because I'm kind of, what's the word? Split on it. I'll break down what I mean. I think let's just go with that. It's correct, right? I think I've always been critical of the women's team for the majority of people that have gone out, apart from Alex Greenwood. We've never received a fee. Now, we do believe this year that we have got something for Amy Turner. Don't know about that, not 100%, but we definitely got a fee for Alex Greenwood. And in the women's game, obviously, because there's not a lot of money, there doesn't tend to be transfer fees. And a lot of players move on free transfers, which is fair enough. But I think sometimes for me, I think we shelled out money for Lotte Rockvist. Quite a lot of that Greenwood money left on a free. We shelled out money for Aurora Mickelson, went on a free. And it seems that we don't. Listen, like I say, it's not popular transfer fees and selling players, but we do seem to, like I say, not sort of get anything in. So I think, well, Alex Greenwood was under contract. We got a lot of money for her, plus we got money for bonuses and things like that. Brilliant, fine. Now, if the club are holding it out, which they're more than entitled to do, brilliant. She's got this season 21-22 and 22-23 left on a contract, so that's 2 seasons. Which is, in the women's game, it's sizable, and that will mean that a sizable fee will need to be paid. So, in that respect, the club being stubborn on it, brilliant, because it's about time that, we didn't sort of chuck money away because we're hearing, about budget cuts, and the reason Casey left was partly due to money. So, it's only right that our best young talent, and let's not forget she's 19, we get as much as we can. Now, like I say, the thing about that is Lauren is 19. She's got time to develop. She will be world class. So rightly so. She's worth what she's worth. So for me, brilliant. Happy with that aspect. The issue we have got is that we've heard that she's been rumoured unhappy in terms of homesickness, not necessarily unhappy with teammates or the club or anything like that. She's missing home and she wants to go back home and be near her family, which again is fine. So there becomes a sort of a predicament where do you carefully try not to annoy Chelsea so that she gets a move and it keeps her happy, or do you keep an unhappy player? There's then what I've been reading earlier this week, and again, it's probably just rumours, but that City are preparing a bid or have lodged a bid for her brother Reece James. So then that becomes interesting, because if Reece moves up here, would she be more inclined to stay, being that homesickness is the main reason she wants to go? So that's a sort of, a thing there. Like I say, you don't want to keep an unhappy player. The other thing is the fact that Chelsea complaining about us playing hardball and getting frustrated and things like that. Let's not forget, they've kind of put the ball or the shoe on the other foot because they played hardball with us having, I think was it last or the season just finished. There was clubs inquiring about Beth England who barely plays, and you're like, no, she's going to stay, and they were adamant. So it's like, well, hang on a second. You don't want to get rid of one of your best players. You're not entitled to, just the same as we are. So they're busy saying about, oh, we're frustrated and you're dragging it out and being critical. But listen, at the end of the day, they've done it, they've done it first. And that might sound petty, like, oh, you do it, we do it. But that's not the point I'm trying to make. You know what I'm saying? They're playing hardball over their star player, but then they're moaning, saying they're frustrated and we're taking the mick over one of our star players that's a heck of a lot younger than Beth England and going to be a better player. So for me, it's like, this is why I'm saying it's a bit of a predicament, because you don't want an unhappy player. And listen, I don't think Lauren will be disruptive, but you don't want a player that's mentally not going to be in it and paying a wage and just having a potential wasted and rotting on the sidelines. So it's one of them. Do you take a hit and try and get the most money you can without annoying Chelsea and the deal collapsing? Do you wait and see if rumours regarding Reece coming up are, true? And then that happens and Lauren thinks, well, actually, my brother's coming up. I signed the new deal, bit of extra money, because she talked about in season 1 when she was only 16, how much Reece at Wigan was a positive impact for her. And obviously, she's still only a kid now, but back at sort of 16, it's a different ball game, isn't it? Imagine leaving home that young to come to a new city. So it's interesting that this has come out, not sure how true it is. It's just, again, it come from, like you said, it come from Goal, who have, they write a lot about women's football now. They've sort of really boosted that. But it does, it kind of, I don't know, like I say, this is why I've sort of tried to summarise the points, because there's different scenarios in how it could work. I mean, listen, United fans would love nothing more than Lauren to stay. But at the end of the day, it's not, it's the same thing, isn't it? It's not about the player, it's about the club. It's only about the player in the respect that mentally, duty of care and things like that, and it's the right thing to do. But yeah, I mean, we shall see, because it's interesting, obviously, if that breaks down and we all thought it was a done deal, there's rumours of Leon being interested, or will she stay? I can only see Leon if she doesn't go to Chelsea, or a stay, and those are pretty much for me the two options. With Leon, money won't be an issue, but again, it's one of those, really. We shall see what happens, but I don't know if you want to sort of add your thoughts on it.
Well, Leon, no. If it's homesickness, it would baffle me if she went to Leon, to be honest. But then again, Leon being the stature they are in the women's game, I wouldn't begrudge her for going there. But as I said, as we started talking about it, United have every right to hold out for what they think the valuation of Lauren James is, and if Chelsea don't want to pay it and get frustrated and walk away. I'm sure Lauren won't be a disruptive player if it was to happen that she stayed for another season at United. I don't think she's that type of girl. But the interesting thing is that, as you said, there's obviously rumours that Manchester City are after her brother Reece. So if it was to transpire that Reece did go to Manchester City, because let's face it, Kyle Walker's aging as a fullback now, so they're probably looking for the next sort of fullbacks to come in. And you know what Pep's like; he loves a defensive signing. So it wouldn't surprise me if you see if you see that transpiring, and then hopefully it might say, well, Lauren might go, oh, I'll change my mind now. My brothers are living in Manchester with me and everything. But then again, would Chelsea want to let him go as well? So it's all this buts and maybes again, isn't it, mate? But it's a very, very interesting story, that though, if it's true. And I'm sure it is, because as you said, that Goal have started doing a lot of women's content now. So hopefully it's true, and United at least are looking for a top figure for Lauren James in terms of money. Because listen, I've always been critical that we saw Cristiano Ronaldo at 80 million, whatever it was back in the day. That was too cheap. He should have been the first £100 million player without any doubt, and then Real Madrid would have paid it. So it's about time United have started at least holding out for what the true value of of what they think a player is worth. And Lauren James, by the way, is one of the best young footballers in this country. So United have every right to hold out for the valuation that they think. I'm sure Lauren James is still under a 2 or 3 year contract as well.
Yeah, that's what I was saying before. She's got a contract for this season and next season, so 21, 22 and 22, 23.
There's still 2 years left on a deal, so
yeah.
Chelsea wanted this season, they're going to have to pay, so pay the money. But, you know, we shall see on that one. On transfer news, mate, there was a bit of a meltdown earlier on Twitter about Alicia Lehman because she was pictured, I think, was it yesterday? She was pictured in a Lauren James Manchester United with
days back, yeah.
Well, a few days, sorry. I only saw it yesterday. I think with a pair of Manchester United shorts on as well, I believe. So obviously people are trying to put 2 and 2 together and thinking, oh, she's going to sign for United, and the meltdown, mate. The absolute meltdown. People are saying, "Oh, right, willing to walk away from the club if this signing comes true." I'm like, what the are you on about? I said, how do you know? I said, she probably got that shirt of Lauren and she's in the gym. She probably thought, I wear Lauren James' shirt on. I big Lauren James up, you know. And I like the way Natalie also tweeted a picture of herself, you know, holding Lauren's shirt up, you know, outside LSV that day when we said goodbye to Casey. So, you know, it just baffles me, Twitter. It really does. But obviously, it's time for Aston Villa today. So panic over everybody that panics. But what do you make of all that?
It's typical, isn't it? I think it's just transfers make me laugh because, like you say, you get the meltdowns. But for me, you know, there's a lot of people that just waffle some absolute rubbish. You know, I think it just annoys me because they're busy knocking a player that hasn't even signed, hasn't even been linked with us or anything like that over the picture. Now, first of all, should be a good squad player, somebody to compete with Hansen, because the wings were short, you know. We're short on the left if Lee's injured and we're short on the right if Hansen's injured. So, as a squad player and somebody to rival and really, you know, push on, she'd have been perfect. She's 22 years old, so she's got bags of potential, you know. People are saying, oh, I want such a body from the bloody Italian league or such a body from the bloody Swedish league. It's a load of shite. You know, actually watch players and watch what they can bring and the potential that they may have before knocking, you know. Listen, you know, fantastic signing for Villa, and I'll get onto that in a minute. But, you know, anybody that knows or follows Lauren James's Instagram knows that Alicia has been on holiday with Lauren. And, you know, there's a lot of players that, you know, they're all mates regardless of the club they play for. And they all swap shirts and, you know, give the mates shirts and things like that, and people wear them. Now, it might just be that Alicia's a United fan. She might not be. She might have just worn it, like you said, to support her mate because she's, you know, she's got a shirt. And I'm sure Lauren's probably got, you know, a West Ham one or an Everton one or Switzerland or whatever. You just never know. She might not have. But, you know, people are reading too much into it. It really is ridiculous, you know, bashing and slating a player just because they're linked with the club. You know, it's not even a bad player. If it was something that was absolutely woeful, and trust me, we've been linked with a lot worse that people are obsessing over, you know, then fair enough. But I just think, you know, there's worse players out there that we've been linked with and that people want, but yet they're busy knocking, you know, somebody that's a decent player, you know, and like I say, has got potential. That said, like you mentioned, she did sign for Villa the other day. And, you know, fantastic, you know, great coup that for Villa, for Carla Ward, for the fans, an exciting young player I like to talk about. You know, she's quick, she's direct. So, you know, it's sort of like meltdown over, but the overreaction that sort of seems to be creeping into everything just needs to chill out. You know, there's people moaning about outgoings, there's people moaning about new manager, there's people moaning about incomings, there's people moaning about potential incomings. And, you know, you always say about you're not a fan of it, and I can see why, because pre-United, there was never any transfer rumours and there was never any sort of bits of info and there was never any meltdowns. But it seems that whilst it's great that we've brought some things, it seems to, and listen, it might not just be all our fans, but, you know, it seems to be usually people that don't watch or hardly ever come to games, people that are new to the game, and then people that genuinely have no idea. I think it just bugs me because there's so much negativity. It's like, you can't see anything positive. Yes, we know the club aren't perfect and things are cocked up, but as a fan, just calm down. You know, and I know Natalie talked about this a week or so ago with John. You know, there's like oh, meltdown, we've not announced a new signing. The season literally finished 5 weeks ago. You know, just calm it. You know, people are on holiday. You know, deals are happening. Interviews have taken place for manager. 4 are done coming in. You know, we've not even finished doing the outs, and people are flapping. Oh, Birmingham's got a manager. Arsenal's good for them. Do you know what I mean? So what? Who cares? That's not Man United. It's just like chill out and trust the process. Yes, we know it's a cock up at times, and yes, we know it's not great. But you know, let's try our best and just chill out. But listen, at least it's time for Villa now. Like I say, you know, they've got a good thing going there. You know, Carlo Ward's going to come in. They're going to have some great players. They're going to be improving from last year, and rightly so. You know, fair play. They've been backed by the men's side. And yeah, listen, that's a good signing for them. If I was a Villa fan, I'd be really chuffed because that's their first signing that's been announced. So, you know, fair play on that one. I don't know I do know what your thoughts are on transfers, but maybe do you want to, I don't know, add to it or agree, disagree, you know, talk about Alicia?
You know, I mean, I'm with you though, pal. You know, I saw it all yesterday. Yesterday when I saw it, I was like, why is everyone melting down? I mean, even I'm not buying into it. Even I knew that Lauren was on holiday with Alicia, and they know each other and all that lot. You know, I'm thinking, well, why are you having an absolute meltdown over absolute nothing? And this is what I'm trying to say. And this is indicative of everybody that knows that Stu, one of the regular people that comment on the channel that asks questions. Me and him work on the men's channel a lot. And he calls these people non-football people because all they do is look at the social media side and wait for the absolute meltdown to happen. They don't understand football. They don't understand how transfers work. This is the first sign of anything they don't like. They have absolute meltdowns. It's like, you know, it's like you don't know anything yet. You know, you just based it off a photo. That, you know what I mean? I was trying to say, I was like, listen, Alex Morgsby pictured in a Manchester United shirt years ago. All right, yes, we didn't have a women's team, but do you know what I mean? Just imagine she had another picture of a United top on now. People going an absolute crazy meltdown. Oh, we're going to sign her. Or we're doing this.
Listen, people have been knocking that as well.
Oh, I know, mate. But listen, it's just I don't understand people that get the knickers in a twist over stuff. It's like, you know, if it's official news and you don't like the signing, the particular signing or whatever, then yeah, you've got every right to have your say, a little moan and whatever. But listen, at the end of the day, you know, this place is not signed. She's got to Aston Villa, and now you're looking like an absolute tool. No disrespect to the people, but you're looking like absolute tools because, you know, you made a fool of yourself by trying to put 2 and 2 together, and you know, it's just like, come on, a bit of common sense, I think, at times. And that's the problem with the transfer window. It gets everybody over giddy. And people are sometimes, I said this on Jonathan's show before as well, and people are so unrealistic as well. It's like they're trialing all the greatest names in the women's sport to United and going, we've got to sign this, we've got to sign this. If we don't sign that, we're shit. We're not what's the word I'm looking for? We're not going forward. We're not looking to move forward. Ambitious, that's the word I'm looking for. Thank you, mate. And I'm thinking, well, when a Manchester United ever sign world-class players in the men's team, really? I mean, proper world-class players at the prime world-class, never. We signed Cristiano Ronaldo, and I said this on Jonathan's show. I said it on Monday's show with John and with Marty. I said, listen, when a Man United ever signed world-class players, even the men's side, Cristiano Ronaldo was a one-trick pony when we signed him. He was a gangly teenager, you know. He became one of the best players. He became a Ballon d'Or winner at Manchester United. Wayne Rooney was a decent player, but he wasn't the finished article. He wasn't the world-class ceiling that he went on to for Manchester United. Peter Schmeichel back in the day was a top goalkeeper out of Denmark. You know, wasn't the best in the world. Became the best goalkeeper in the world at Man United. You know, so we're always signing players that had the potential to become a world-class player. You know, and And I think I said, I don't know if you watched it, Matt, the Monday show. One thing that infuriates me is the outcry about when we sign British or English players.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, as I said on that show, well, correct me if I'm wrong, but Manchester United, a football club in England, Manchester is a city in England that's part of Great Britain, part of the United Kingdom. Of course, you're going to sign a glut of British talent. And I go back to the Michael Carrick signing when people are like, oh, this guy's overrated. Spurs have had our pants down for the transfer fee. But Michael Carrick went on to win a European Cup. And I said, along with Robin Van Persie, the 2013 season, Alex Ferguson's final season, was our best player. So, you've got to take it, we've got to make sure we get the right balance between British players, WSL experienced players, and of course, decent players from abroad and your hidden gems as well from across Europe and the world. We can't just sign every foreign talent going, and that's what my point is about this chance. I look at it and it's the same people all the time, do you know what I mean? No disrespect to them, but I'm thinking you really do not know what football is about if you think that all it's about is signing these Galactico style players, and we're going to turn like Real Madrid and sign an Olympic Lyon and sign all these fucking world class players. One, we don't have the budget.
Yep.
Let's be realistic. Two, that's not the way Manchester United do things. And three, when are you ever going to blood in the youth, which Manchester United are been famous for? And I'm sure that's what we're looking to do with our women's team at some point.
Absolutely.
We're only 4 years old this season coming. So there's always a stage for them girls and the devs, they've got a good chance. We started building some towards the back end of last season. You know what I mean? And we've got some really good players in there. Populoson's one of them, mate, at centre half, man. I swear to God, mate, if she doesn't get a chance at United, I'll eat my hat or something, mate, because she's really good, honestly, really good. She just needs that. Maybe she needs maybe a loan move or two for a couple of seasons and then come back and maybe make a case. But listen, this is the way United do things. I just think people need to be balanced a little bit more. I don't know if you've got anything to add to that, pal.
Yeah, I think on that as well, we talk about, like you say, you mentioned about, fans and things like that. I think for me, rumours coming in have maybe made it worse. And I know people want news and things, but I just think back to sort of pre-United and, there's obviously a new demographic of fans now and the game's changing. That's not a problem. But for me, the rumours have made it worse because of the meltdowns and because at the end of the day, it's rumours until it's confirmed. And it's like, in the men's team, you don't, the rumours are a load of crap half the time. You can go on BBC and there's the gossip column and it says all sorts. It's been having, Pogba leaving United since the day he signed. It's been having United in previous years linked with Schneider every single year. And it's just talk, and journalists have to create news and get people talking and create columns. That's the job. Get the interest and boost the profile. Fine, not a problem. That's what they do. But for people to have absolute meltdowns over it, I think is ridiculous. And I think, you mentioned about, it's not United Way signing Galacticos. I think too many people kind of link the women's team to the men's team. They say, the men are doing this and they're going doing that, and they compare the two, which for me is wrong. It's like you said, it's not the way in the men's side, but in the women's side, people are, like you said, knocking the British talent. I'm not being funny. The WSL was literally built on British talent. Like you say, it's an English club. It was very, very, very rare up until very recently that there was a huge influx of foreign players. It just doesn't happen. And rules and regulations are different to the men's, and it's more difficult. Obviously, Brexit's made it even harder. But people just there seems to be a massive agenda against Lionesses and English players. It's like meltdown. But if you have a look, who was the joint top scorer in the league? Frank Kirby, English. Who won the PFA Player of the Year? Frank Kirby, English. Chloe Kelly and Lauren Hemp at Man City. 11 goals, 10 assists for one of them. Again, one of them won Young Player of the Year. Very good players. There seems to be this huge obsession from people that don't know what they're talking about with foreign players just for the sake of having somebody foreign to me. And it's like, if you genuinely do, people are chucking out. We're Wikipedia and we're not judging for ourselves. We're going out and listening to somebody tweeting something and then saying, oh, well, yeah, well, they've done this here and they've done that there. But it's like I say, it's like we talked about before with the Birmingham manager. Yes, it's a great win percentage, but it's in Scotland. And people say, oh, we should sign Oshala. Well, what makes you think she's good? Oh, well, she scored 30 goals this season. Great. One good season in the Spanish league. You look at Barcelona, they won every single game. They scored over 100 goals. I'm not being funny, but, come on. The Spanish league is okay. It's improving. But, for a team to go so many unbeaten and absolutely wipe the floor, who, by the way, have sacked the manager, and then for somebody to, say, well, based on one season, I'm not counting a record in China. I'm really not, because that's like our fourth and fifth tier, and she scored pretty much one every game. The record is like pretty much, one goal a game. And I think back, this is somebody I watched previously, and I'm like, she was poor in the WSL. Now, it wasn't like she was at bad clubs. Back then, Liverpool were fighting for trophies and things, and she couldn't get in the side. Arsenal the same again, couldn't get in the side, and Arsenal were cleaning up on trophies and things. You just think, I'm not convinced that if she comes back to the WSL, based on her stats as well, her passing is 33% accurate. She needs her conversion rate is 1 in 4. I'm thinking we've banged on for 3.5 years about clinicalness, and people are still going on, no, quality signing, top signing. And the meltdowns that people are having, is ridiculous. Oh, don't want this player, I'd rather a foreign player. Why? As long as they're good enough for Man United, it shouldn't matter. I couldn't give two hoots whether they're from England, Ireland, Scotland, Wales, Jamaica, Kazakhstan, bloody Russia, anywhere. As long as they are a decent standard of player that will put the ball in the net, as you mentioned, countless times, this is an upgrade on what we have. I couldn't give two hoots where they're from, really couldn't. So I think people just need to calm down. If you've seen a player and you like what you see, that's fine. But the worry I have is, like I say, because it's all been English based and not many players come over, how many are going to cut it? How many are going to adapt to England? Listen, Honor Battle's come in and been outstanding. Jackie Groenen needed a season to get up to level. She's now very good, one of our best players, that's fine. Aurora Mickelson didn't work out. Lotte Rockvist didn't work out. We even went for experience. Jane Ross didn't work out. So, we've really got to be careful in the transfer market. But the meltdowns, mate, honestly, they just, I don't know if to laugh these days or cry, because it's becoming comical. It's like people have like this mass hysteria and absolutely wet themselves if they see a picture of something, or somebody's having drinks with somebody in the bar and they're like, oh, yeah, well, I've seen such a body have drinks. Yeah, they definitely sign. It's like, no, they're having a drink with the mate. And it's like with the Lehman thing, it's like, God, where's a mate's shirt? It's just comical. I don't get it. It'd be as daft as you putting on a Real Madrid shirt and everyone going, oh, well, Benny's going signing for Madrid.
Yeah.
It's like, Jesus, do you know what I mean? So that's my final sort of mini rant on it. But like I say, Lehman's done now. People need to calm down and just stop putting 2 and 2 together and coming up with 12, because it's ridiculous.
Absolutely, pal. And on that transfer, to end the show, should we just do a quick transfer roundup? What sort of transfer news is it? Latest news we're looking at, pal, from around the WSL?
Yeah, so this week, obviously, it's announced, and I think it was broken by Emma Sanders a few weeks on our show. Hannah Hampton has left Birmingham. She has been linked stateside with teams in America. Had read at the start of this week that Arsenal were also looking at her, although why, I don't know, when they've got 3 keepers and one's just signed the new deal. But yes, that's the latest. Another outgoing from Birmingham. Everton got rid of, I think, 5 players. Georgia Broham, Molly Pike, Clemeron and Corpella. So they've had a bit of a clear out before quite a few rumoured incomings. Reading have brought Tasha Dowie back to England. Again, she's played WSL. She's been abroad for a while and she's come back. So that'll be interesting for me, how she does at Reading. Reading have taken a big hit this year in terms of outgoings, lost a lot of experience. She comes in with experience and leadership. Leicester have announced 9 outgoings. Personally, for me, I mean, obviously with contacts and sort of links there was only sort of 2 that was really a surprise for me. But then there's 5 rumoured players coming in for them. All will make very good additions. And yeah, like I say, I think from what I believe, they've done deals. Jess Park, Jess Sigsworth, Molly Pike, Gemma Perfield, and Abby McManus. Now, I did mention Jess and Abby back in May, and people people were like, oh, rumours. But listen, I knew it wasn't rumours, like I say, with various contacts. So those are looking, like I say, good signings for Leicester. But I think on that, though, and talking about outgoings and rounding up transfers, I've got a question for you. Are you a fan of players being released slowly and individually in terms of getting the appreciation that they deserve? And this is not just United, this is any club. Or would you rather see it done in one go? Because we're sort of seeing a bit of a mix-up, obviously the likes of Reading, Spurs, Leicester, Everton, Brighton have just kind of said, right, these, however many players are off thanks to their efforts. We're doing it one by one, and a few other clubs have done it one by one. Where do you stand on that, just as a general, United and, like I say, anything else?
For me, again, I think this is towards the new sort of modern day social media era where it seems to be doing one at one, once at once. I'm more of a fan of getting it all done at the same time, and then you could post day by day. You can post your thank yous to each player.
Yeah.
But I'd rather have, like when they come up with the retain list and the departures, I'd rather them do it that way, and then day by day we can say our thank yous. They say we're going to do a daily thank you every day and put out content for these players that have left. I'd much prefer it that way. Then it keeps the meltdown down. You know what I mean? And it just doesn't keep you second guessing every time. At least you know where you stand. Then at least you know them that players where you're looking for players maybe coming in. Then and we can work around that a little bit. But either way, mate, it doesn't really bother me, to be honest with you. Even though I would prefer it all at once, but it's just indicative of the days that we live in now, where it seems to be one by one, and that seems to be how the signings happen as well. Even if we do sign a glut of players together, it seems to be one by one. They announce one day, maybe a couple of days later, announce another one, and it's all about engagement and clicks on social media, which is the way that football clubs are now starting to look at things, especially in the social media world. So, really, it is what it is, pal, for me. It's just one of those, isn't it, buddy? I think we're going to wrap it up there anyway, pal. It's nearly an hour. We've had to pre-record, unfortunately, due to personal circumstances again. But, I think it's been a top show nonetheless. Thank you again, Matt. Usually pin tweets out on a Sunday, mate, yeah? Just to...
Yeah, so obviously tomorrow the schedule will go out, and also, the usual weekly roundup again. I'll post all those up out on the Twitter tomorrow. There will be pins, so get on the likes, get on the retweets. YouTube channel, if you've not subscribed, get on it, tell your friends, family, whoever. We are pushing out. I'm sure people are aware. Now we've got 5 shows a week. I think Natalie's got a Wednesday show in the pipeline. I believe there might be one other person, I'm not going to say who, that's going to host a show where it'll be sort of, discussing the results from the weekend and a WSL team of the week. Again, I think that'll probably be pre-records every week just due to sort of time commitments of everybody. But yeah, so lots of things in the pipeline, things coming up and happening all the time. So just keep an eye on social media. And thanks to everyone that's sort of watching this back and tuned in. And we look forward to seeing you again throughout the week.
Yeah, absolutely. I echo them comments. Thank you for everybody joining in, and we shall see you the next one.
Cheers, pal.
Cheers, buddy.